Hello, I'm Mrs. J, and welcome to my math class. Today we're covering Chapter 11, which is probability. And we're only going to touch on it because I know it's not everybody's favorite subject, although it's my favorite subject. Probability is how likely an event will occur. When you're talking about an event, it could be rolling a die, it could be tossing a coin, and you can combine events also, which we'll do in the next chapter. When you're talking about rolling a die or tossing a coin, the outcomes are the possibilities. If we toss a coin, the probabilities, there's only two possible outcomes, right? So the outcomes are heads and tails. So when you're asked to list the outcomes, you list whatever possibilities there are. When you're talking about probability, the probability if we toss a coin and get a head is 1 out of 2. The reason being, when you're finding the probability, it's the part over the total. And so the probability we were looking for was head. So the part we're looking for is a head, which is 1, out of all of the outcomes, which is 2. And so it would be 1/2. Now, probability could be written as a fraction, a decimal. So if we take 1 divided by 2, you get 0.5, or a percent. Multiplying that by 100 gets you the percent. So depending on what you're asked for, you could write it in either one of the forms. If you find the fraction first, it's usually the easiest. And then just divide them to get the decimal, multiply by 100 to get the percent. Well, what if we look at a die? Because a die has more outcomes than tossing a coin only has 2 possibilities. But if we roll a 6-sided die, what are the outcomes? Well, think about it. You roll a die, you could get a 1, a 2, 3. You could get any value from 1 through 6. If we write the outcomes, it's easier to find the probabilities. If we find the probability of rolling a 6, there's only 1 6 out of all of them. So there's 1 out of the 6, or 1/6. Probability of rolling an even, well, the evens are 2, 4, and 6, so there's 3 of them out of the 6. How about the probability of rolling a 7? Not going to happen, right? Well, then the possibility is 0 out of 6, or 0. Because there isn't a 7. How about the probability of at most 6? Well, at most 6 means 6 or less, which would be all of them. Therefore, it would be 6 out of 6, or 1, or 100%. So you could have 0, 1, or 100% as your answers. Also. And let's try an even bigger set, a deck of cards. If you're unfamiliar with a deck of cards, I will have it on there, on the video. But you can also Google a deck of cards and it'll show you a deck of cards. And standard set of deck of cards, usually they'll say 52 cards. When they say 52 cards, they're not counting the jokers. If they want to include jokers, there's 54 cards. Because there's 2 jokers in every deck, but usually we don't include the cards. When you're looking at them, if they say face card, that's your king, queen, and jack. And those are the only face cards. An ace is a number. It's the number 1. Now on cards, I know it also stands for 11. But when we're talking about the probabilities, I don't think I'll ask you an 11. It would just count as a 1. So if we talked about the outcomes, it would be all 52 cards. You have your hearts, your diamonds, and your spades. And then they go from 1 to 10. Jack, queen, king, and that's for all of them. And that would be your outcomes then, all of them. We're going to find some probabilities for them. Probability, if we're pulling one card from a deck of 52, the probability that we're pulling an ace. Well, there's 4 aces. There's an ace of hearts, an ace of diamonds, an ace of clubs, and an ace of spades. So there's 4 out of the 52. Okay, find the probability of a heart and the probability of a red card. Well, the probability of a heart, there's 1 through 10, so that would be 10, 11, 12, 13. So there's 13 out of the 52. The probability of a red, well, these are red, and the second group is black. So 13 and 13 makes 26 out of the 52. Now you don't have to reduce. In fact, it's easier this way because if some reduce, some don't. I always leave it this way. Unless you need the decimal or the percent. Then you would divide them. But that's the start of probability. Thank you. Okay, you're supposed to stop. Thank you for doing that. Not a nice man.